All right. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. We've made it almost through the entire week. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Verify Cloud, a smarter way to manage UZ data. My name is Edgar Salazar, and I'm the Business Development Manager here at Verify. Today, I have the absolute pleasure to be joined by our Director of Systems Engineering, Victor Verba. Victor, how are you today, bud?
I'm doing well, Edgar. I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me over here, man. Excited to kind of talk a little bit about what Verify Cloud brings to the table and what some of our customers are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you staying warm up there?
I'm trying to stay warm, man. It's better than it has been. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, Danny. I'm in East Texas, and I'm bundled up, man. It's chilly down here.
Yeah, well, we just got out of the negative fives, and now we're like 2025. So, like, that's like night and day for us right now. I'll take it.
Oh boy. Wow. Try to stay warm, buddy. All right. To continue on, as a quick reminder, this webinar is being recorded. We'll send out a link to the recording following today's session. You can also visit our webinars page at www.verify.com/webinars, or you can also watch any of our previous recorded sessions. If you do have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat panel. Questions that will always make up for a better webinar. So please don't hesitate to ask. And as a quick agenda for today, we'll start off with a brief overview of Verify. Then we'll dive right into Verify Cloud, what it is, and how it can help you benefit your organization. Then we'll pause and finish answering any last-minute questions. After the Q&A, we're going to award 3 lucky attendees with an Amazon gift card. So hang around to see if you've won. If you're not familiar with Verify, we specialize in analytics and management solutions for UC platforms like Cisco Communications Manager, WebEx Calling, Microsoft Teams, Zoom Phone, along with a host of other CUCM-related tools like remote phone control, change management, DN and DID management, and more. We also offer a migration assessment, so if you're thinking or already in the process of moving to a cloud calling platform, we can help you get the data you need to make the right decisions. Victor, it's time to kick things off. But before we dive right into the benefits of Verify Cloud, can you give us just a quick overview of what exactly we're referring to when we say Verify Cloud?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Edgar. So essentially what we're talking about when we talk about Verify Cloud is really hosting your call data in Verify Cloud. It's a GCP cloud, so it's Google Cloud. Your data is hosted in a secure environment. It is FedRAMP certified. And we really kind of look to take all of the lift off of you guys of maintaining those. So it really kind of offloads a lot of that workload over to us, allowing us to be able to go ahead and manage that for you. And you guys have a simple place to go and grab your data without having to worry about the headache of maintaining it.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Vic. Let's talk a bit more about the cost advantages of Verify Cloud.
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's probably one of the biggest questions. And I'll actually bring up a real life example because this just happened to us. Must have been last week by now. Is we were working with an existing customer, and they are auditing their infrastructure, trying to figuring out where they're spending their money. These are not on-prem servers, but they're paying a lot of money to be able to host their servers in a different cloud, whether that be Amazon or Google or Microsoft. So they kind of did an audit and found out what they were paying for their server infrastructure just to run Verify. And that's not even talking about operational expenses. That's just talking about expenses of having to have the servers in place, CPUs, memory resources. And they found out that they were actually paying more than what it would have cost them to just use our cloud. So, that's a real life scenario. So, kind of what goes into that in that decision-making server or situation is the fact that, look, you're paying for CPU usage. If you're hosting your own SQL server, which a lot of our customers are, they're paying by the core, they're paying for memory resources, they're paying for disk space. And a lot of people will say, and nowadays it's true, is, disk space is relatively cheap. And it is, but you need all these other pieces to be able to go ahead and manage the amount of data. So when we're talking about customers that have 50 million, even 10 or 20 million calls up to, hundreds of million, we've got customers with terabytes of data out there. They're hosting it in their own platform. They have an exorbitant amount of cost to be able to manage and maintain that infrastructure with all the different components. Again, not even really referencing things like, reducing the operating costs, maintaining the physical infrastructure if you're on-prem, but maintaining patches, maintaining upgrades, updates, putting it into security programs. When it is on-prem, you've usually got a SQL team that's managing that. So you're paying that SQL team to now manage additional resources. So cost efficiency is huge. And we are seeing that a lot of people are actually finding that our solution is less expensive than when they audit their existing hardware or existing infrastructure to be able to just move it into our cloud. So there's huge cost saving advantages, and it's really a small lift when we start to talk about costs from what you're currently paying. Ideally, what we're seeing in most cases, it's about 30% lift from what you're paying now from an entire on-prem system to move that into Variphy Cloud. So it's pretty small lift as opposed to all of the different things that come into maintaining an architecture like that in your own environment.
You mentioned something along the lines of a SQL team, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. There are man hours that go into managing an application, right?
Yes.
So you no longer need those man hours, and you're kind of leaving it up to Variphy to manage the application. So there's definitely some cost savings there to be had.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We see it. Yeah, like I said, and that was a real life customer. This just happened last week. They came to us saying, hey, this is about what we spend. Can you help us out? And we're like, have you guys looked at our cloud? And they're just like, no. We're like, so we gave them some pricing. They're like, no brain. It was a no-brainer. I mean, it was literally less than what they were paying. So
Now you mentioned a couple of different size systems, right?
mm-hmm.
That's about Variphy Cloud. I mean, does this scale for every customer?
It does, yeah. So we do scale. So that's again another nice thing, and that kind of rolls a little bit about cost efficiency. But you kind of roll right into the right thing, because that does go to scalability. Variphy Cloud's going to scale to you whether you got 200 users or whether you've got 50,000 users. We're going to be able to manage that infrastructure for you. So when we start to talk about scale, one of the things we see is customers steadily increasing. And constantly increasing. It's not like, hey, we just added 2 users, we're good. It's like, oh, we've acquired another company, or we're scaling up by 500 or 1,000. Well, when they do that, it's additional license, of course. It's a different additional infrastructure for them. But what a lot of times what people don't think about is the infrastructure that is verified. So, if you're holding your data for, let's say, 2 years, and you decide, hey, I'm going to scale up, and we just acquired another company, we're adding another 1,500 end users to our system. Well, you have to think about the Variphy infrastructure as well, because that's going to need to go up, because now you're scaling and you're holding more data. So now you're looking at maybe additional CPU, you're looking at additional resources, getting additional people involved, upgrading servers. A lot of times we see even migrating servers, having to move them to different parts of the network. And there's some cost associated to that. So what we're doing with Variphy Cloud is really eliminating all of that. By pushing that data out to the Variphy Cloud over secure ports, we're essentially taking on all of that scalability for you. So as your company is ramping up, we're just going to be ramping up in the background. If you guys start ramping down, we can ramp down in the background. Your cost goes down in the background if you start eliminating license or users. Same thing if it goes up. But the nice thing, again, is as your organization grows, we're growing with you, and you don't have a whole team of people trying to maintain various servers to make sure that they're also growing within your environment. So scalability is kind of a no problem over here. We're going to work with you, scale with you guys. As your organization grows, your infrastructure is going to grow. You're not going to see any additional cost of that infrastructure. Really the same licensing cost based off of users.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely starting to see many of the advantages of using Variphy Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of a few other reasons why this platform is becoming so popular. What comes to mind immediately is maintenance, right? As an former engineer myself, an engineer yourself, I'm sure you could appreciate the solution or a solution that doesn't need any maintenance or any type of updates that you have to do yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we touched on that a little bit as we were going through that, and that also bodes into cost efficiency. But you're right. When we talk about maintenance, there's vulnerabilities. Look, this is a much more secure world now than it was 3 years ago. We see that. Every industry sees that. So who's maintaining your infrastructure? Who's maintaining your servers? You're paying all of them. Who's putting updates on servers? Who's updating the Variphy application? If you're not updating your Variphy application, you're at risk of vulnerabilities. When we put out updates, we're constantly covering CVEs. We're constantly covering any potential loopholes within the software. So if you're on a version 16 or a version 15 or a version 12 or 13 of Variphy, you're missing out not only on application updates, but also security vulnerabilities. Another thing that we see, and again, we take that risk away from people, is a lot of people are running our OVA. So something that we see that we're trying to head off with our customers pre-installation is that, that OVA needs to be able to get into their maintenance routines. In other words, for all the regular scheduled updates, it needs to be part of their antivirus and things like that. But a lot of companies, they've kind of put it in there and they've been working with it. And, we're working with, somebody in the management team who, doesn't know anything about the server infrastructure. So they don't know if it's being updated. But when we get in there, we can see that, hey, look, your Variphy system's like 6 versions behind. Clearly, nobody's updating it. So again, what we're doing is we're taking that all off the plate. We're doing automatic updates. We're maintaining that infrastructure so that way you guys don't have to. Less vulnerabilities, less risk for the customer, and just more absorption on us. Let your IT guys do what they do best, and that's work with your internal systems, your internal teams. And let us do all the heavy lifting as far as your server resources, maintenance, updates, and things like that. Other huge benefit there that I'll mention, like I talked about, is just making sure you're keeping your Variphy system up to date. We are constantly putting out updates to our product, whether it's new platforms that we're supporting like Teams or Zoom or WebEx Contact Center, Cube in the cloud. We are constantly updating, but also smaller updates. So everything's not a big epic update. We add things to reports. We add different reporting mechanisms, different scheduling mechanisms. We add things to dashboards all the time. So we always do webinars on those. But if you guys aren't updating your Variphy application, you're missing out on a lot of new technology that you guys may be able to take advantage of.
And I'm sure the same benefits apply for like disaster recovery and backups, right?
It does.
One less thing for customers to worry about.
Yep, exactly. And that is absolutely one less thing that people worry about, because if you were to look at a Variphy system, or let's look at some of your other internal systems, who's backing them up? A lot of times people don't know. Sometimes they're not getting backed up at all. So, what happens if it does go down? Sure, you may look at Variphy and be like, oh, it's not a tier 5 critical system because it doesn't manage our phone systems. However, from a legal perspective, they may not look at it the same way. If there's a bomb threat, if there's a 911 call, if there's some legal action being taken, the fact that you're missing that data could have ramifications. So having those backups and having that no downtime effect is important, not only from your day-to-day job, but also from a compliance perspective. So again, one of the things is, and we talk to a lot of people and we're just like, well, how are you guys backing it up? And they're, I don't know. And sometimes it is being backed up. It's just another team doing it and somebody doesn't know. Well, let's say it goes down. Do you know who to contact to be able to get it restored and brought back online in time? So all those different things, again, are something that we take off of the customer's plate, allow them to do what they need to be doing, which is focusing in on their job, allowing us to do what we're supposed to be doing, which is focusing in on making sure that your Variphy system is running, up and running, and you're getting the reports that you guys need.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I do have a question. It's kind of an important, right? That comes up a lot with the on-prem deployments, but it's going to apply even more for these cloud systems. Security, right? How safe is Variphy Cloud?
Yep. So Variphy Cloud is hosted in GCP. So Google Cloud, it is FedRAMP certified. It is protected. Your data is encrypted at rest. So it doesn't get much different or more secure than I would say if you were putting it on your on-prem system. And in many cases, it may be a little bit more secure because the data at rest is encrypted. We're using our own software to be able to do that. But also what we're doing there is, we're mitigating a lot of the risks of the vulnerabilities, like I said, where, look, if you're not maintaining your operating system, if you're not maintaining your Variphy system, you're opening yourself up to vulnerabilities. So when we start to talk about security, again, that's something that we are religious on. We take that very seriously. So we are always going ahead and making sure that that's managed, up to date. Security updates are put on from both an operating system perspective as well as a Variphy perspective. But also the other thing when we start to talk about security is access. So, a lot of people will have local authentication still running on their on-prem systems, which is okay because most of the time it's locked down to your on-prem system. And, you're hoping nobody else gets into your network. So with Variphy Cloud, we also support local authentication, although we strongly don't urge using it. We do support single sign-on as well. So as you guys are using your normal sign-on procedures, Variphy Cloud does also support single sign-on. So you'll be able to use your same credentials that you use throughout your network to be able to sign into the Variphy Cloud as well.
Got a related question here from one of our audience members.
Great.
We support OAuth and then SAML 2.0.
SAML 2.0, yes. OAuth or AD, we do not support in our cloud because that would require us to connect directly into your network, which is something that we try to avoid. So we do support SAML 2.0, SSO, IDP, all the common, the Oktas, Entras, Google. So we support all the popular and common IDPs. I'll put it this way: I have yet to find an IDP that we haven't been able to support because it's just general SAML. So I hope that answers that question.
For my own sake, what is an IDP?
IDP is your independent provider that hosts your authentication. Like Okta is your authentication provider. So anytime the authentication is taking place, and that's actually a really good question, Edgar. So what's going to happen is you'll come to our URL out in the cloud, and it's going to prompt you, and it's going to reroute you through your standard IDP or your SSO provider, be it Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Okta. Then what's going to happen is you'll authenticate normally. We're all kind of used to it where, maybe we cleared our cache or something like that, and then you come back in and then we've got to re-log in. I got to re-put in my email address, re-put in my company password, and then all of my stuff magically works. We work on that same line. So that same authentication that you do on your machine is going to pass right through the Variphy system over to your provider, and then back into Variphy to give you authorization to come on in. Now, other nice thing there is you do have that tunnel that goes out to Okta or whoever your IDP is. That's standard. That's not coming through your network. We're still not connecting to your network for that. But it is going to go ahead and then just come back into Variphy and then use Variphy's security credentials. In other words, what do you have access to? What modules can you see to authenticate whether you're allowed to actually see certain parts of the data? So that role-based access still applies to Variphy Cloud just like it does to on-prem.
Okay. It's actually very related to a question that came up earlier that I didn't get a chance to ask.
Okay.
Are we able to limit users' access to only specific data sets?
Good question. And the answer is yes. So whether you are on-prem or in the cloud, you are able to limit someone's access. So I could go into Variphy and create a user for Edgar and give him access to, let's say, only 2 people or a department or a certain subset of people or something within the organization. So yeah, to answer that question, absolutely, we can definitely do that.
And there's one final question. There's actually a very good segue to our next point.
Okay.
Users asking if there's a VPN required to access Variphy Cloud.
There is not. No VPN required. It is online, so you don't need a VPN. Again, we're untethering you from your own network. So whether I'll say you're the passenger in a car and you need to go ahead and quickly find something because you have a ticket. Maybe it's a 911 call, something nefarious happened, you need to track something down. You can jump on your phone. We support multiple devices, and that is really a good segue into our next topic here, because you can support multiple devices. In other words, we are untethering you from your network. Whether you are using on your phone, your iPad, whether you're on vacation somewhere and you need to be able to get into some reports, maybe you need to look at a dashboard, maybe you're the contact center manager and you just want to pop in and see what people are doing while you're away. You do have the ability to do that through a URL. So you will get a unique URL per customer. The other benefit there is when we start to talk about that kind of flexibility of not having to be tethered to your own network, that also is extremely helpful from a support perspective. So what we see, and we do this with a lot of our cloud customers, is those folks that are on-prem, they're used to being able to open up a ticket, and then we got to reach out and set up a WebEx. And during that WebEx, maybe we're troubleshooting an issue or some error messages. Maybe it's hardware problems. Who knows? It could go any gambit of reasons that we're troubleshooting. But during that, because we're not accessing your network directly, the customer's on the line with us. In other words, if it's an hour-long call or a 2-hour-long call, we have to be able to maintain somebody's attention. That means that they're not getting what they need to get done. The beautiful thing about Variphy Cloud, and we work with a lot of our customers this way, we'll have somebody open up a ticket for us. We know most of our customers on a first name basis. We like it that way. It's just kind of company we are. But we'll say, hey, do you mind if I just jump in and take a look at your report? And absolutely, 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, go for it. If it doesn't take up their time, in other words, they don't have to sit on the phone for an hour with me to try to figure out what's going on with this report. And I could just jump in there and then send them a response back and saying, hey, these are some adjustments I made on your report. Go ahead and give it a run. Let me know how it goes. Well, we've just freed up 1 hour to 2 hours of somebody's day troubleshooting a potential report by them just opening up a ticket and not having to worry about a WebEx or us being tethered into your network or you being tethered into your network. So it awards you guys a lot of flexibility to be able to just, again, do your jobs, let us do ours, and figure out what's going on. Now, that's not every case. Sometimes it is beneficial for the customer to be on the end with the phone with us as we're working through it. And we want that because we want our customers to know how to be able to be self-sufficient. But in a lot of cases, again, we're friendly with our customers. We know that somebody may have just put a comma somewhere or an extra X, or they forgot to do a drop down or something like that. So we can go in, pop in, take a quick look, diagnose quickly, and then just send them what a resolution may be. And 9 times out of 10, people love that flexibility because it does give them the ability to continue their day and not have to take time out of their schedule to look at why a particular report didn't run or they're not getting the results that they expect. So huge advantage there as well is in streamlining the whole report support process.
I got a question that came in here.
Mm-hmm.
This is pertaining to support.
Okay.
Are there different levels of support available for Variphy Cloud?
So we do have different levels of support altogether. So whether you're on-prem or whether you are in Variphy Cloud, we do have multiple levels of support. We got our professional support, which is, consists of our technicians, 1-day turnaround. But then we also have an enhanced support service, which is about an hour turnaround, guaranteed hour turnaround. From the time you open up a ticket to call. That's much more of a white glove treatment. That is a lot. And it actually worked really well with our cloud-based customers because the idea behind the enhanced consulting services, we have a lot of customers that want to be hands-off. In other words, they don't necessarily want to have to run their own reports. They have IT admins that don't want to have to worry about the managers and building the managers' reports. The managers don't want to get in there because they're busy. So they'll go into something what's called our consulting service or ECS, Enhanced Consulting Service. Benefit of cloud is now when somebody says, hey, I need this report, Victor, I could just go into their system and build that report because they're part of that enhanced consulting service. They don't have to sit on the phone with me while I build it for them. I don't have to get other people involved. I literally could just go in there, build it, schedule it, run it, and be like, hey, you guys are done. You're ready to go. So that level of support manages for both customers. I tell you what, though, it is a little bit easier with cloud customers because, again, you don't have to hang out on the line with us. You could just say, hey, Victor, I need this report done, or I need this dashboard built. We'll go ahead and build it, present it to you, and then you either like it or we're going to go back to the table and kind of redesign it with you.
That makes a lot of sense, Vic. Let me go back and see if there's any last minute questions. I know we're kind of coming up on time here.
Okay.
I got one that I could answer myself. I think you correctly.
Okay. All right, let's go. Let's have at it.
You're asking if that enhanced consulting services that you mentioned, if that's the former Ninja support. It is an evolution of it, right?
You got it. Yeah, Edgar, it is. That's exactly what it is. That is previously known as our Ninja support. And what that does is gives you a dedicated technician that's really dedicated to your system, knows the ins and outs of your system, knows your users, know how you utilize the system. The best part about that is having that kind of, it's almost like an extension of your own organization. It's like having your own IT guy that's basically just around Variphy. So the cool thing about that, and I do this as well with my ECS customers, is as we're coming out with new features, and again, maybe it's not an epic feature, maybe it's just something small, but I know this customer and I know how they use the system, so I'll go through and I'll be like, okay, you know what, guys, I think this is going to be helpful for you guys, and I'll introduce them to this feature. I'll say, hey, we added this. It's simple. It's a drop down. I think it'll be make a world of difference for what you guys do. Or like, hey, here's a report. We added some stuff. I think you guys should take a look at it and see if this is something we want to incorporate into your scheduled reports. Yes, it is an iteration of Ninja Services. Again, the cloud really just makes it so much more streamlined.
All right, let me just double check to see if there's any other questions. Feel free to ask them. Those are really good questions so far. I'll give you guys a minute to type away if you're typing. And it looks like that might be it, Victor.
All right.
All right. That is it for today's webinar. We want to thank everyone for joining us. Again, if you're interested in learning more about Variphy Cloud or our migration assessment, please don't hesitate to reach out to Victor or myself. You can email us either at edgar@victor.com. That'd be edgar@verify.com or victor@verify.com. And we'll be happy to assist with whatever questions you guys may have. Thanks again. Have a great day and see you next time.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me, Edgar.